Dr. Amanda Brooks hadn't slept in 72 hours. The dark circles under her eyes testify to her relentless work on the Universal Translation Matrix, but she couldn't rest. Not now. Not when humanity's first contact with an alien civilization hung in the balance. The massive view screen of Mars Station's command center displayed the approaching alien vessel. Its elegant design defied human engineering principles, all sweeping curves and impossible geometries that seemed to bend space itself. The ship's iridescent hull reflected Martian sunlight in ways that made Brooks' eyes water. Translation matrix at 97% alignment, Captain Hayes, she announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The system she'd developed over the past decade was about to face its ultimate test. Ready to receive their transmission. Captain Michael Hayes stood at parade rest, his weathered face betraying none of the anxiety that must have been churning in his gut. At 45, he'd seen enough combat during Earth's unification war to know that first impressions often meant the difference between peace and bloodshed. "Patch it through, Doctor," Hayes ordered, his voice steady despite the historic weight of the moment. The entire command center fell silent as the alien transmission began. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a being that looked almost serpentine in nature, with crystalline scales and multiple pairs of eyes arranged in a mesmerizing pattern. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonic overtones that made several junior officers wince. Brooks' translation matrix began its work, converting the complex mathematical patterns of the alien language into something human minds could comprehend. The first few phrases came through clearly. "Greetings, young species. We are the eternal empire of the thousand suns." Then everything went wrong. Brooks watched in horror as cascading errors rippled through her system. The alien's subtle harmonic variations contained layers of meaning her algorithms hadn't anticipated. Cultural references and contextual markers crashed through her carefully constructed linguistic frameworks like a bulldozer through a house of cards. "No, no, no," she muttered, fingers flying across the interface. "Captain, there's something wrong with thee." The translated message suddenly shifted, the alien's harmonious tones transforming into something far more sinister. "Submit to our dominion, or face immediate annihilation. Your primitive species has one standard rotation toe." Multiple energy spikes detected. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez called out from the tactical station. "Their weapons are powering up." Hayes' expression hardened as years of combat experience took over. "Dr. Brooks, confirm translation accuracy." "I can't." Brooks fought to keep panic from her voice. "The Matrix is experiencing some kind of recursive feedback loop. These patterns, they're unlike anything we've ever." "Shields up," Hayes commanded. "All hands to battle stations." Brooks wanted to scream that this wasn't right, that there had to be a mistake, but the data streaming across her screen told a different story. The translation matrix was detecting threat patterns, dominance displays, and what appeared to be targeting coordinates embedded within the alien speech. The alien vessel's elegant hull began to shimmer with energy that her instruments couldn't classify. Hayes made his decision. "May God forgive us," he whispered, then raised his voice. "All batteries, open fire. Rodriguez, target their primary weapon emplacements. Show them humanity won't kneel without a fight." The EDF Intrepid's railguns roared to life, sending hypersonic slugs streaking across the void. To everyone's shock, the alien vessel's shields, which should have been centuries beyond human technology, flickered and failed against the crude kinetic impacts. As alarms blared and the command center erupted into organized chaos, Brooks realized with a mix of horror and fascination that humanity had just stumbled into something far larger than a simple first contact scenario. The Empire's response would come soon, and with it, a war that would rewrite the galaxy's understanding of humanity. The first shots had been fired. There was no going back now. Captain Hayes turned to his crew, steel in his eyes. "Send word to Earth. Tell them we're about to find out if all those war games were worth a damn." Lieutenant Jessica Mad Dog Martines watched her targeting display as another Empire destroyer emerged from hyperspace. The massive vessel, easily 20 times the size of her Valkyrie-class fighter, joined the growing wall of alien warships that stretched across her viewport. "Hammer Squadron, form up on me," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. "Remember your training. These bastards might have fancy shields, but they've never danced with Earth's finest. 100 ships against our defense fleet." Her wingman, Lieutenant Kyle Joker Thompson, chuckled nervously over the comm. They must really want to make an impression. "Cut the chatter, Joker," Martines responded, though she appreciated his attempt to lighten the mood. "Control, this is Hammerlead. Request permission to engage advance elements." Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the comm. "Permission granted, Hammerlead. Show them why we call you Mad Dog." Martinez's squadron of 12 fighters broke formation, their modified engines pushing them to accelerations that would have liquefied unaugmented human pilots. The recent integration of inertial dampeners, reverse-engineered from scattered debris of their first encounter, had turned Earth's fighters from space superiority craft into something entirely new. The Empire's front line opened fire, filling space with energy weapons that could vaporize mountains. But Martinez had studied the footage from Mars. She knew their weakness. "Execute attack pattern Delta 7, she commanded. "Subliminal rounds only. Let's test that theory." Her squadron split into pairs, corkscrewing through the storm of energy weapons. Empire targeting systems, designed to track energy signatures and faster-than-light objects, struggled to lock onto the relatively slow-moving human fighters. Martinez squeezed her trigger. The railgun mounted beneath her fighter screamed to life, launching a depleted uranium slug at just under the speed of light. The projectile, barely registering on Empire sensors due to its primitive nature, slipped through their shields like they weren't there. The result was spectacular. The slug tore through the destroyer's elegant hull, its kinetic energy converting to heat and light as it shredded through deck after deck. Secondary explosions bloomed in its wake as the mighty vessel's power systems catastrophically failed. "Direct hit," Joker whooped. Their shields didn't even flicker. "All units, confirm findings," Martines ordered, already lining up her next shot. Projectiles under light speed passed straight through their defensive screens. The battle quickly devolved into chaos. Empire ships, their commanders confused by the primitive tactics, attempted to adjust their shield frequencies. But they were fighting the wrong battle. Their technology, evolved over millennia to counter energy weapons and FTL attacks, had no answer for humanity's outdated kinetic weapons. "They're launching fighters," someone called out. Swarms of Empire interceptors poured from their carrier ships, their energy weapons lighting up space. Martinez grinned. "Now for the real fun. Hammer Squadron, switch to dogfighting protocols. Show them what happens when you corner a pack of dogs." The next few minutes were pure adrenaline. Empire fighters, while technically superior in every way, flew with a rigidity that spoke of AI assistance and standardized tactics. Martinez's pilots, trained in the chaos of Earth's atmosphere, flew like their machines were extensions of their bodies. "Their formations are too perfect," Martinez observed, rolling her fighter through an impossible turn that ended with another destroyer's bridge disappearing in a flash of kinetic energy. "Too predictable. Exploit their patterns." The Empire's neat formations began to break apart as human fighters struck from impossible angles, using maneuvers that their combat computers classified as suicidal right up until they succeeded. Each destroyed Empire ship added to the debris field, which human pilots used for cover, while their enemies' sensors struggled to distinguish threats from wreckage. "Control, this is Hammerlead," Martines reported, watching another Empire cruiser split in half from concentrated railgun fire. "Enemy fleet is showing signs of confusion. Request permission to press the advantage." "Granted, Hammerlead," Admiral Chen responded. "The main fleet is moving to support. Give them hell." As Martinez led her squadron deeper into the furball, She allowed herself a moment of fierce pride. The Empire had expected to find primitive savages. Instead, they'd found wolves in sheep's clothing. And they were about to learn just how sharp humanity's teeth could be. Colonel James Ghost Anderson stood in the middle of Area 52's reverse engineering lab, surrounded by holographic displays of captured Empire technology. His steel-gray eyes tracked every detail as Dr. Robert Bob Turner, wearing his characteristic worn MIT hoodie, manipulated the 3D models with practiced gestures. "Look at this, Ghost," Turner said, zooming in on what appeared to be the Empire ship's power distribution system. They don't even have physical circuits. Everything's quantum-linked through subspace conduits. It's brilliant, elegant, and completely vulnerable to physical disruption. Anderson finished, a predatory smile crossing his scared face. "They've evolved past the need for redundancy. Show me their weapon systems again." Turner flicked his wrist, and the hologram shifted to display the Empire's primary weapon arrays. Pure energy-based systems, plasma cannons, particle beams, some kind of quantum displacement technology we can barely detect, let alone understand. But here's the kicker. He'd highlighted a particular section of the schematic. No kinetic weapon countermeasures. Not even basic armor plating. Anderson walked through the hologram, his cybernetic eye whirring as it captured every detail. They'd forgotten the basics of warfare, Bob. They've been at the top so long. They've evolved into specialists. And specialists die out when the environment changes, Turner grinned. But that's not even the best part. Watch this. He pulled up combat footage from Martinez's squadron. Their tactical AI. It's having nervous breakdowns trying to predict our moves. The footage showed Empire ships attempting to counter human attack patterns, only to be caught completely off guard by seemingly illogical maneuvers. Their responses were perfect by Empire standards, and thoroughly inadequate against human unpredictability. Their entire military doctrine is based on perfect information and predictable outcomes, Anderson mused. Time to introduce some chaos theory into their perfect universe. Pull up the Chimera Project specs. Turner's fingers danced across his interface. A new hologram appeared. A human destroyer retrofitted with salvaged Empire technology. Ghost Protocol, version 1.0. We've managed to integrate their shield technology with our hull design. But it gets better. He highlighted the weapon systems. We're keeping our railguns, but we're running them through their quantum power distribution system. The energy output is, well, let's just say the test results made even the Empire physics we captured scratch their heads. Anderson studied the hybrid design. 20 years of Special Forces experience told him this was a game changer. How soon can we begin production? That's the beautiful part, Turner beamed. Remember those automated manufacturing facilities we captured in the Kuiper Belt? Turns out their universal fabricators can't tell the difference between authorized Empire designs and our modifications. We're already building the first batch. A junior technician rushed into the lab, tablet in hand. Sir, the Empire tactical AI we captured just had another breakdown trying to simulate Ghost Protocol scenarios. It's generating error codes we've never seen before. Anderson took the tablet, his cybernetic eye scanning the data. Their AI can't handle it because we're breaking their fundamental assumptions about technological progression. They think in straight lines. We're thinking in spirals. Should we try to simplify the design? Turner asked. Make it more predictable. Hell no, Anderson grinned. Let's make it worse for them. Add in those plasma oscillators we salvage. Wire them through the kinetic impact sensors. Let's show them what happens when humanity decides to color outside the lines. He turned to address the gathered engineers and technicians. The Empire thinks they know war because they've been fighting the same battles with the same rules for thousands of years. We're going to teach them that warfare isn't about following rules. It's about adapting when those rules change. Turner nodded, already modifying the designs. I'll have the new specs ready for production in 6 hours. But Ghost, what happens when they realize what we're doing? When they figure out we're using their own technology against them? Anderson's smile was cold. By then, it'll be too late. Because we're not just using their tech, Bob. We're evolving it in ways they never imagined. And if there's one thing humans do better than anyone else in this galaxy, it's taking someone else's rules and turning them upside down. The Ghost Protocol was more than a weapon system. It was humanity's declaration that the rules of galactic warfare were about to change forever. Major Emily Tesla Thompson stood in the observation deck of the EDF Chimera, watching as her crew prepared for the ship's maiden voyage. The vessel represented everything humanity had learned about Empire technology, merged with everything that made humans dangerous. Engineering reports all systems nominal. Her XO, Lieutenant Commander Jack Wrench Morrison, reported. Though I still say running plasma through kinetic impact sensors is asking for trouble. That's exactly why it'll work, Thompson replied, her augmented eyes scanning real-time diagnostics floating in her field of view. The Empire expects efficiency, perfection. We're giving them controlled chaos. The Chimera was ugly by Empire standards, a brutal fusion of human pragmatism and alien technology. Where Empire ships were elegant crystal and flowing lines, the Chimera bristled with railguns alongside plasma projectors. Its hull, a patchwork of Earth titanium and Empire quantum crystalline armor, looked like something bred rather than built. "Ma'am," her tactical officer called out, long-range sensors detecting 3 Empire dreadnoughts entering the system. "They're heading straight for us." Thompson smiled. "Right on schedule. They couldn't resist investigating our new abomination. All hands to battle stations. Let's show them what evolution looks like." The Chimera's hybrid engines roared to life. Fusion reactors feeding power through quantum conduits never designed for such crude energy sources. Empire sensors would see impossible power readings, systems that shouldn't work together, creating something their physics said couldn't exist. "Enemy ships entering weapons range," Tactical reported. "They're scanning us. Their targeting systems appear to be having difficulty getting a lock." "Of course they are," Thompson grinned. "We're breaking half their fundamental laws of physics. Deploy the honeycomb defense grid." Outside the ship, hundreds of small drones launched, each carrying a micro version of the Chimera's hybrid shield technology. They formed a complex, ever-shifting pattern around the ship. Another innovation that made Empire targeting computers glitch. "Enemy vessels launching first salvo," Morrison announced. "Multiple particle beam attacks incoming. Initiate defense pattern Tesla 3, Thompson ordered. The honeycomb grid shifted, creating deliberate weak points in their defense. As the Empire's energy weapons struck, the drones redirected and absorbed the energy, feeding it back into the Chimera's weapon systems. "Power reserves at 130% and climbing," engineering reported. "Ma'am, we're getting more power from their attacks than our reactors." Thompson leaned forward. "Time to return the favor. Target their lead ship. All weapons, fire when ready." The Chimera's hybrid arsenal came alive. Railguns fired depleted uranium rounds wrapped in plasma fields, while modified Empire weapons launched quantum-destabilized energy bolts. The combination overwhelmed the lead dreadnought's defensive systems. Shields couldn't track the physical projectiles, and armor couldn't withstand the energy weapons. The massive Empire vessel broke apart in a spectacular display of light and debris. "By all known Empire physics, what we just did should be impossible," Morrison noted, watching the enemy ship's erratic response to their attack. "That's humanity's greatest weapon," Thompson replied. "We don't care what's supposed to be impossible. Send the combat data to Ghost Protocol Command. Let's show them what their precious hybrid tech can really do." The remaining dreadnoughts attempted to coordinate their attack, but their tactical AI struggled to predict the Chimera's movements. Thompson's ship seemed to break every rule of space combat, absorbing energy it shouldn't be able to handle, firing weapons that shouldn't work together, moving in patterns that defied standard combat logic. "Second target displaying shield fluctuations," Tactical reported. "Their power grid is destabilizing." "Press the advantage," Thompson ordered. "All hands, prepare for close-range engagement." Show them why they should have stuck with kinetic weapons. The Chimera surged forward, its hybrid drive leaving a wake of quantum distortions that played havoc with Empire sensors. They had started this war thinking humans were primitive. Now they faced an enemy that had taken their technology and evolved it beyond their comprehension. As the second dreadnought succumbed to their assault, Thompson allowed herself a moment of pride. The Empire had spent millennia perfecting their technology. Humanity had taken it, broken it down, and rebuilt it into something new in less than a year. That was the difference between evolution and stagnation, between adaptation and perfection, between humanity and the Empire. Admiral William Iron Bill Morrison watched the tactical display as 10,000 Empire ships emerged from hyperspace, their formation perfect enough to bring tears to a mathematician's eyes. His command center aboard Ganymede Station hummed with controlled tension as humanity prepared to face the Empire's main assault fleet. Real pretty formation they've got there. Commander David Crazy 8 Rodriguez commented, his scared face reflecting the holographic display. Shame if someone were to mess it up. Morrison nodded grimly. Status of Operation Solar Storm. All ships in position, sir, Rodriguez reported. Task Forces Alpha through Hotel are locked in Jupiter's gravity well, waiting for your signal. The Empire's sensors read nothing but normal gravitational distortions. The Admiral allowed himself a tight smile. The Empire, for all its advanced technology, had forgotten one of space warfare's most fundamental principles. Gravity was the ultimate weapon. Enemy fleet advancing on predicted vector, Lieutenant Commander Rachel Wilson announced from Tactical. They're deploying exactly as our simulations suggested. Arrogant bastards haven't even bothered to change their standard combat doctrine. Morrison keyed his command channel. All task force commanders. This is Iron Bill. Execute Operation Solar Storm. May God have mercy on their souls. Because physics won't. 800 human warships, hidden in Jupiter's massive gravitational field, began their carefully orchestrated dance. Using the gas giant's gravity like a slingshot, they accelerated to speeds that made their Empire counterparts look sluggish. Task Force Alpha. Emerging now, Rodriguez called out. Velocity at 0.3 sin climbing. The Empire fleet's perfect formation wavered as human ships seemed to materialize from nowhere, riding Jupiter's gravity well like surfers on a tsunami. Their velocity, combined with the gravitational distortions, made them nearly impossible to target. They're trying to adjust, Wilson reported, excitement creeping into her voice. Their tactical computers are attempting to calculate new solutions, but our acceleration curves aren't matching any known combat protocols. Morrison watched as his forces executed maneuvers that Empire ships physically couldn't match. Their hybrid drives, combined with Jupiter's gravitational assist, let them pull turns that would have torn conventional ships apart. Task Force Charlie, reporting multiple confirmed kills. Rodriguez announced, the Empire's targeting systems can't handle our gravity-assisted trajectories. We're literally outrunning their targeting solutions. The Empire fleet, faced with an attack pattern they'd never encountered, began to break formation. Their attempts to regroup were hampered by Jupiter's massive gravitational influence, something their tactical computers had dismissed as an environmental hazard rather than a weapon. Sir, Wilson called out. Empire command ship is moving to coordinates 227 Mark 043. They're trying to establish a new battle line away from Jupiter's influence. Morrison's eyes narrowed, just as predicted. Commander Rodriguez, you have a go for Operation Crazy 8. Rodriguez grinned fiercely. Thank you, sir. Task Forces Golf and Hotel, form up on my position. Time to show them why they call me crazy. 8 ships, led by Rodriguez's flagship, broke formation. They used Jupiter's gravity to accelerate to seemingly impossible velocities, then executed a slingshot maneuver that sent them hurtling toward the Empire's command ship. Enemy vessels moving to intercept, Wilson reported. 800 ships against our 8. Perfect odds, Rodriguez replied. His small force dove straight into the heart of the Empire formation. But instead of firing, they deployed their secret weapon, gravitational disruptors reverse-engineered from Empire tech, amplified by their velocity, and Jupiter's natural field. The result was catastrophic for the Empire. Their ships, designed to operate in normal space, suddenly found themselves caught in a web of competing gravitational forces. Shields failed as space itself seemed to twist around them. Empire command ship is offline, Wilson announced triumphantly. Their entire command and control network is collapsing. Morrison watched as the mighty Empire fleet, pride of 1,000 systems, fell into disarray. Send word to Earth Defense Command. The Jupiter Gambit was successful. We've proved that even the masters of space can be defeated by the most basic force in the universe. As the battle continued to unfold, Morrison reflected on the irony. The Empire had conquered space itself, but they'd forgotten the fundamental forces that governed it. Humanity, the primitives, had just taught them a lesson written in the stars themselves. Commander Ashley Phantom Walker crouched in the shadows of a maintenance conduit aboard the Empire dreadnought, Eternal Dominion, her active camouflage rendering her nearly invisible. Around her, 11 other Special Forces operators waited in perfect silence, their modified combat suits interfacing with the captured Empire tech grafted to their gear. "Control, this is Phantom," she sub-vocalized through her neural link. "Team is in position. Confirm biological readings of target ship." "Confirmed, Phantom," came the encrypted response. "Sensors show 1,200 Empire crew members. Their internal security systems still register you as maintenance debris." Walker allowed herself a grim smile. The Empire's sophisticated sensors, designed to detect energy weapons and explosive devices, completely ignored the primitive magnetic boots and molecular edge combat knives her team carried. Their hubris would be their undoing. "Execute Phase 1, she ordered. "Wraith Team, move to engineering. "Spectre Team, bridge access points. Remember, we're not here to kill. We're here to demonstrate." Her operators moved like ghosts through the ship's corridors. The Empire's crew, so dependent on their automated security systems, never noticed the human shadows sliding past them. Their internal sensors, programmed to ignore anything below a certain threat threshold, dismissed the infiltrators as routine mechanical anomalies. "Engineering secured," Wraith Team reported. Their chief engineer just realized his override codes don't work anymore. The look on his face was educational. Walker led Spectre Team toward the bridge, using maintenance shafts that the Empire considered too small and primitive for tactical significance. Their arrogance had led them to design ships with service tunnels that might as well have been invasion highways for humans trained in close-quarters combat. "Bridge Team, prepare for breach," Walker whispered. "Remember, non-lethal takedowns only. We're here to send a message." The bridge doors slid open, revealing the Empire's command crew bent over their stations. Walker's team struck before alarms could sound. Their molecular edge knives sliced through energy shields designed to stop plasma weapons, while their magnetic boots kept them anchored as artificial gravity fluctuated. "Bridge secured," Walker announced, standing over the unconscious Empire captain. "Total casualties, 0. Time elapsed, 3 minutes, 42 seconds. Upload the message." Her tech specialist patched into the ship's communications array, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention Empire vessels. Your command ship has been captured by 12 humans with knives. Your technological superiority means nothing against human ingenuity. Consider this a demonstration of mercy. Next time, we might not be so gentle." The response was immediate. Empire ships across the sector began registering security breaches as other Special Forces teams emerged from hiding. The mighty Empire fleet, which had never experienced boarding actions in its 1,000-year history, found itself paralyzed by the threat of shadows. "Ma'am," her communications officer called out, "we're picking up widespread panic in Empire communications. Their tactical doctrine has no protocols for this type of warfare. They don't even have close combat training programs. Walker walked to the captain's station, examining the sophisticated controls with professional interest. Of course they don't. They've spent so long fighting at a distance that they've forgotten what war really is. It's not about technology or doctrine. It's about will. And humanity has that in spades. She opened a channel to all captured Empire ships. This is Commander Walker of Earth Special Forces. Your ships are now under human control. Your crews are unharmed but contained. We could have killed you all. Instead, we chose to teach you a lesson. Remember this day. Remember how 12 humans with knives captured a ship of 1,000. Remember that technology isn't everything. As reports flooded in from other successful captures across the sector, Walker reflected on the irony. The Empire had expected to find savages with crude weapons. Instead, they'd found warriors who turned their own technological blindness against them. "Control, this is Phantom," she reported. Phase 1 complete. The Empire just learned that humans don't need energy weapons or quantum shields to change the course of a war. Sometimes all we need is courage, ingenuity, and a really sharp knife. Dr. Thomas Doomsday Reynolds stood before the United Earth Defense Council, his weathered hand steady as he manipulated the holographic display of Sarah's base. The assembled military and civilian leaders watched in silence as he revealed humanity's ultimate deterrent. Project Planet Killer isn't just a weapon, Reynolds explained, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had stared into the abyss of human potential. It's a mathematical certainty, a physics problem that ends in either peace or mutual annihilation. Admiral Chen leaned forward. "Walk us through it, Doomsday. What exactly have you created out there in the belt?" Reynolds zoomed in on Ceres, now more machine than asteroid. "We've converted Ceres into what I call a relativistic mass dragger. Using stolen Empire drive technology, we can accelerate it to 99.9% the speed of light. At that velocity, it carries enough kinetic energy to crack a planet's crust." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Empire threatened to bombard Earth, Reynolds continued, pulling up tactical projections. They thought their planetary destruction capability would force our surrender. Instead, they've given us the perfect excuse to unveil this. General Sarah Martinez, formerly of Hammer Squadron, studied the calculations. The Empire's defense systems, they can't stop something moving that fast, can they? They can't even detect it in time, Reynolds confirmed. By the time their sensors register the threat, their worlds would have about 3 seconds to contemplate their existence. We've targeted their core worlds, all of them. Jesus Christ, someone whispered. Reynolds nodded grimly. The Empire thinks in terms of controlled destruction. Surgical strikes. Clean wars. This? He gestured to the hologram. This is extinction-level warfare. The kind of thing they've evolved past considering. The kind of thing only primitives like us would dare to contemplate. The council chamber's doors burst open as a junior officer rushed in. "Sirs, the Empire's Supreme Commander is demanding immediate communication. They say their sensors have detected unusual activity in the belt." Admiral Chen smiled coldly. "Put them through, main screen. Let's show them what humanity does when backed into a corner." The holographic display shifted, revealing the crystalline features of Supreme Commander Zexavol. Even through the alien physiology, their horror was evident. "You cannot be serious." Hexavol's translated voice resonated through the chamber. "Our sensors must be malfunctioning." "You couldn't." "Oh, but we would." Reynolds stepped forward. "Your sensors are working perfectly, Commander. Sears Base is exactly what you think it is, a planet killer, powered by your own technology, aimed at your homeland. Shall we demonstrate?" He pulled up another display, showing Ceres beginning its acceleration sequence. The massive asteroid's surface bristled with Empire drive technology, twisted and modified beyond its original design specifications. "Stop." Zexavol's composed demeanor cracked. "This is madness. You would risk the destruction of entire worlds. Risk. Reynolds laughed darkly. Commander, we've already calculated every possibility. Either you cease all hostilities and recognize humanity as equals, or we find out exactly how many worlds we can destroy before your empire crumbles. Your choice. The alien commander's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession. You're bluffing. No species would risk such devastation. Admiral Chen stood. Commander, let me be clear. Humanity didn't start this war, but we will end it. One way or another. You have 6 hours to begin peace negotiations, or we start our countdown. And remember, you taught us how to make faster-than-light drives. We can hit every major empire world within minutes of each other. The transmission cut off, leaving the council chamber in heavy silence. Will they break? Martins asked quietly. Reynolds studied the readouts from Syrah's base. They have to. We've just forced them to confront something they've never faced before. An enemy willing to end everything rather than submit. The Empire wages war through superiority. We wage it through necessity. The next 6 hours felt like an eternity. But when the Empire's response came, it was unconditional. They would negotiate. Victory through terror, Reynolds mused, powering down the Syrah systems. Not elegant, not civilized, but undeniably effective. Let's hope we never have to show them we weren't bluffing. 20 years after the war, retired Admiral Michael Hayes stood at the podium in the newly constructed Galactic Defense Council chamber on Luna. The vast hall was filled with representatives from both humanity and the Empire, their differences in appearance now a symbol of diversity rather than division. I never wanted this position, Hayes began, his voice carrying the weight of decades of service. Standing here, addressing the first joint military academy class of humans and Empire citizens. But history has a way of choosing its moments. He gestured to the graduating class before him. Young officers from both species, wearing uniforms that incorporated elements from both cultures. Among them sat his own granddaughter, Sarah Hayes, next to her Empire colleague, 3rd Commander Zigzivol Jr., son of the very commander who had surrendered 2 decades ago. Your instructors have taught you the technical aspects of warfare, Hayes continued. The physics, the strategies, the doctrines. But today, I want to talk about the lesson that ended a war and began an alliance. The holographic displays activated, showing footage from the various battles that had defined the conflict. The Mars incident, Martinez's fighter squadron, the Chimera's maiden voyage, Morrison's Jupiter gambit, Walker's ghost teams, and finally, the Syrah's ultimatum. The Empire thought they were gods among mortals. Hayes's voice carried across the chamber. Humanity thought we were fighting for survival. We were both wrong. We were fighting our own limitations, our assumptions about what was possible, what was proper, what was right. He paused, making eye contact with various graduates. Look around you. Every Empire cadet here has trained in close combat, something unthinkable 20 years ago. Every human officer can operate quantum field generators that our scientists once thought impossible. We didn't just end a war, we evolved together. Sarah Hayes and Zigzivol Jr. exchanged glances, a gesture that would have been inconceivable during the war. The Empire taught us about the elegance of advanced technology, about the precision of quantum mechanics, about the beauty of scientific perfection. Hayes continued. We taught them about adaptation, about thinking beyond doctrine, about the strength found in desperation. Together, we've created something unprecedented. He brought up new images, hybrid ships crewed by both species, training exercises where Empire precision complemented human creativity, scientific breakthroughs born from the merger of 2 technological philosophies. When I fired that first shot at Mars, I thought I was starting a war, Hayes admitted. Instead, I started a revolution. Not in weapons or tactics, but in thinking. The Empire learned that perfection without adaptation is stagnation. Humanity learned that innovation without wisdom is chaos. The chamber fell silent as Hayes approached his conclusion. To the graduating class of 2044, I say this: you are not just officers. You are pioneers. Each of you carries within you the strength of both our peoples, the Empire's dedication to excellence, and humanity's relentless drive to surpass limitations. You are the answer to the question both our species fear to ask. What happens when the unstoppable force of human determination meets the immovable object of Empire tradition? He smiled, looking at the next generation of defenders. The answer stands before me today. You happen. This alliance happens. A future where we learn from each other happens. Remember that the greatest victory isn't in defeating an enemy, but in turning them into allies. Not in proving superiority, but in acknowledging that different paths can lead to the same stars. As the ceremony concluded, Hayes watched Sarah and Zixexavold Jr. talking animatedly about their upcoming joint assignment. In their easy camaraderie, he saw the future he had never dared to imagine during those dark days of war. Quite a speech, a familiar voice said. Dr. Amanda Brooks, now the head of interspecies communications, joined him at the podium. Though I still maintain that if my translation matrix hadn't failed that day at Mars, Hayes chuckled, then we would have missed the greatest lesson in galactic history, that sometimes understanding comes not from words, but from actions, not from technology, but from heart. Together, they watched as human and Empire cadets filed out, their futures intertwined in ways that would reshape the galaxy forever.